I think what we'll do next is we'll come into a pose in Sanskrit called Purvatanasana. That's really a very fun pose. And because we had already opened up into the front of the shoulders, what we'll do next is we're going to come back and come into a seated position. Now what's really nice about this pose is it's almost as if you'll be facing into the door. So here I can take my band, I face the door and I come back. And you can see before you come into the pose how the band, right, lengthens and retracts. It stretches and it retracts. I take the hands back nice and easy. I can bend one leg just like this and I lift myself up and I scoot back, reposition the hands and then extend the leg nice and straight. And that's the pose. And if it's too much for your wrists, simply make a fist. There's always a variation. Yoga should be tailored to your body. And breathe into the pose. Open up the heart, extend the toes down towards the floor. Work the anterior tibialis, lift up the heart, look straight up ahead. And if you're really open across the front of the chest and shoulders, you can let your head dip slightly back. Inhaling. Beautiful. And I slowly drop down, nice and easy. I take my hands forward, retract my feet back, and such a great way to work with the band is they never pull in a jolting manner. Everything is an exchange, it's a relationship. You pull yourself forward and you let the band pull you up as you assist it with your own musculature. And you'll come on up, walk slightly forward, keeping the band right in front of the hips, nice and easy. Take your hands to your heart. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe into the pose. Feel what's inside you. Okay, very nice. So you notice we did some twisting. We did some broadening and lengthening. And one part of the body that we really haven't worked too much as of yet is the side bends, okay, or the lateral bends. And again, we have all of these lines of tendinous muscle spiraling around the front of the back of the body. We have muscles from the upper body to the mid body extending straight up and down. We've also got some nice muscles on the side of the body. So what I'll do first is I'll show you from a back view. So my mighty body band is again still on dynamic. The static strip is not connected. So my right foot is furthest away from the anchor point, and that's the one that's straight out in front. And what's really nice about this pose is I position my hip extender just slightly beneath the hip bone, so it doesn't slide as I work into it. It doesn't feel like it works up or down, and you'll do the same. Once you do that, you'll walk your feet slightly in enough, and then here, you'll take your right arm, and you'll stabilize your back of your neck, and you'll inhale. And watch what happens when I exhale. I work my hips forward. Every time. At the very end of my exhalation, my hips protrude forward, and then the band pulls me back up. Exhaling. Inhaling up. Right? It's a very nice pose. And in a traditional yoga class, do remember that when we're working into side bends, we work into them more statically. So the way the sensations that we feel are just very consistent and very predictable. So here, when I work with the band, the body is constantly going maybe 20% deeper into the poses. Brings a lot of awareness into the side body. We're going to turn around and do the opposite side. And again, I place my hip extender right slightly beneath the hip bone. I take my right hand right up underneath the PNF loop, and I walk myself into the bottom of the door in this case. And then I get my position. You can see my feet walk in and out. You'll do the same so you feel stable. And of course, you're always stable enough so that your feet would never slide up underneath you. And then I'll take my left hand and put it behind my neck. And again, you'll see first I'm just bouncing a couple times. And then I start to work into the pose. I inhale and then exhale. My breath may be a little exaggerated. I actually like to really breathe firmly into it. You'll soften, you'll work nice and easy into the pose. There's also other ways of doing a pose where when we come into it, we use handles and we actually drop down this way. So there's all kinds of different ways of working into the Mighty Body Bend. So I'm going to come on out. Feet together, shoulders back, little fingers work to the wall where it meets the floor behind me, and I just breathe in nice and easy into the pose. Doming the chest, opening up the heart, opening up the clavicles, nice and easy. I feel supple and soft, ready for more. The heat is working. Inhale and exhale, drop down. So you'll shake your legs out, and then the next pose that we're going to do is what I like to call King Vira and Virabhadrasana 1. So again, I'll be working into this pose dynamically where the PNF loop stretches. Now, when I walk forward here, you'll see the band via the PNF loop is stretching. So a lot of times, in absence of the Mighty Body Band, when you're not using it, we come into the pose, and because we work habitually from the same places, it's not as if we build up a lot of strength. And if we do, it's in the same place. When you're working with the Mighty Body Band, remember, what's happening is because there's dynamic resistance, it takes you into a whole new pattern of your work. Take the arms up. I'm going to take them down just to illustrate a point. When I take my hands down to the front of my hip bones, the band is pulling me back and up. It's acting as if the front of these hip bones are lifting up and slightly behind, and my tailbone, in this case, your tailbone begins to gently tuck. You don't want to force it. Just want to relax the muscles so it drops down, and then you start to feel that whole action of the side body from those lateral bends begin to participate in this pose as your arms come up. Breathe and open up the heart. Inhaling. And then exhaling. If you're ready, you can let the head hang back. Breathe in it. Sometimes your hands come together if you feel really open on that particular day. Without force, and you should always be able to speak clearly. I inhale, and I slowly take my hands down. Beautiful. And from here, I take my hands behind me into the inside of the loop of the Mighty Body Band, and I pull myself back. Again, another nice way to work with the coordination and agility of the body. So the same thing. I've already got my band in the same position, left side. And remember, we don't just settle for what we get. We nestle ourselves in like 3 eggs in a nest, right? Just in the right place. Slowly breathing in. Back leg activated. It should feel gently as every time you exhale, the front of your hip bones like 2 elevators lifting up side by side in the building, going up, 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 up. Arms come up, shoulder blades back and down. Breathe into the pose. Remember, the head should actually go back last. So, coming in. Armpits turn slightly out. Little fingers working up as the thumbs work back behind you. Remember to keep a slight bend into the elbow. And inhaling. And then slowly. Then the head comes back. Breathe in. Keep the toes soft. Feel the rib cage expanding. Beautiful. Inhaling, exhaling. Hands come down nice and easy. Beautiful. Lean slightly forward. Grab from behind. 1, 2, 3. Pull yourself back. The next pose that we'll be doing today in this sequence is a triangle pose. So in triangle pose, all I want to do in this pose here is I want to turn, and again I want to make sure that I have a nice angle, and I do. So remember, the further away that your mighty body band is extended from the door, the more stable the angle. When the mighty body band is retracted into the door all the way and you use it, it's less of a stable angle. It may be 45 degrees as opposed to 30 degrees. And so the way it pulls up at the musculature has an effect on how you open up and strengthen the muscles. So having said that, when I come into this pose here, you'll see I'm leaning almost as if I were doing my side bend. And then I suddenly turn that left leg in this case, and you can see my kneecap facing directly forward. And you can see in the back my right leg is slightly behind me. This pose allows a really nice opening into the psoas major and the psoas minor. So I want a nice opening. I like to just put my hands on the side of my torso to bring awareness into the fine nerve energy. And I take my elbows up, breathing in. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly, it's as if I'm lengthening out right here from that left side of the torso. And as I come down, my right arm extends up. And I breathe into the pose. And it's just, it's indescribable in words. The band is pulling me back. I have all this nice resistance. I feel it into the adductors of that left leg, which is in front. I feel it into the psoas of the hip and back. Breathe in, and then watch this. I put my hand slightly above. I position my hand back and beautiful. I come back nice and easy, position myself, and really make sure that back leg is nice and stable, and you pull yourself up. And we do the other side. So from a back view, same thing. I walk back. My hip extender is right about at the center of the hip bone, the outer hip bone. And then here, watch how my right leg, which will come forward, watch how as soon as I come forward, it spins, right? So the whole leg spins out. See? And the band wants to pull me back, and that's great. I know it's working. I want to walk a little bit over to the back side of the mat, so that way when I come into the pose, I've got that same diagonal action. The way the mighty body band works is through taking out all the slack and stretching the muscles on a diagonal pattern. This is what PNF stretching is about. Look at my kneecap. It moves, right? You want to keep your leg active. That kneecap should be firm. Take a nice deep breath. Inhaling, bringing awareness into the side body. Exhale, hands to the side. Breathe and spinning the shoulder blades back. Inhale. And then slowly working, feeling it. Maybe you'll take your fingertips down to the floor. If you're open enough, maybe you'll stabilize yourself. Less is better. Breathe in, spin that left shoulder blade back and down. And enjoy beauty, the unfamiliarity. Work yourself into a whole different place. Pose becomes luxurious. Plenty of extensioning out through the neck. Pull that left shoulder blade down, and when you're ready, one more time. Extend the arm up. And slowly, hand comes down towards the back. Grab the PNF, bend slightly. It's fully extended, and propulsively, it pulls me back up. So very nice. And then here, one more time, we're going to just ground ourselves. Hands to the hips. Hands to the side body. Hands to the shoulders. So I feel things that I haven't felt prior to my practice. So the very next pose that we're going to do It's a wonderful pose. After all this stretching, I'd like to get a really nice deep forward bend. And remember, forward bend is, so I'm bending forward, but the muscles that are really being stretched are the muscles in the back of the body. So, as I like to say, a forward bend is kind of like a back bend, and the back bend is kind of like a forward bend, and we'll explore why that is. So first thing I want to do, I want to step back and just step my legs out. So I step them out. I'm going to turn around and you'll do the same. So once you're out, you will see that you'll take your mighty body band and you'll extend it all the way as far as it'll go into the toe bend. And then what I do is I hold it up like this, as you can see. I take it up over my left shoulder, just like this. And remember, it's dynamic. So I walk away far enough that the loop of the mighty body band comes right underneath the crease of the back of the glutes. So, and I lean forward. Then I walk back far enough and I position this, make sure there are no twists in it. Nice and easy. And then what I do, if I feel stable, just like this, you see? Nice and stable, I take my hands forward. You'll notice I'm walking my feet forward. And this is the pose. So the pose is a supported pose. I breathe in, take my hands behind like this. I can put them back here. And every time I do this dipping forward, the pulsation, my body is actually going deeper and deeper into a forward bend, as opposed to just statically trying to explore the pose. We dynamically work into it in a multifaceted way. Breathing in. And then you can relax. Breathe. Enjoy. Explore the landscape of the pose. This is the back side of the body being stretched in what we call a forward bend. Take my hands back like this. A fun little side pose is to come on back while your hips are in the loop of the mighty body band. I walk my hands back nice and easy, and I either stay here, or if it feels like I've got just the right resistance, I connect the toes. So the band helps hold me into position. I build up my core strength nice and easy, and this is the really nice part of the pose. For some of you who are more active today, you shoot your legs back, just like that. Track them forward, hands come back, and in child's pose. Remember, the mighty body band works with fast twitch muscle in a very, very clever way. Hands to the hips. Exhale. Inhale. Come on up nice and easy. Head comes up last. Beautiful. And then into a nice kneeling position. So traditionally, when we work into Ustrasana, the camel pose, or in traditional yoga class, we come into the pose, the hands come back. There are many variations. Sometimes we come back like this, all kinds of variations. Sometimes we just take the arms up and we work like this. Well, what's really nice about using the mighty body band is that we take our unit, and you'll do the same. You'll extend the unit out all the way. And then what we'll do, once you know that you've got your loop, just like this, you will take your mighty body band, you'll take the static loop, and the first thing you'll do is just connect it. Now I can do it dynamically, but I want to make it static here. And then once you've got your loop, you'll take the whole loop and you'll turn it around like that. So it almost looks like the number 8 or a B. And then I step in it. Step each foot into each half of the spheres. The sphere, 2 half spheres. And I hold it up. Then, when I walk forward, you'll see, as I walk forward, right, it starts to tighten up. And once it tightens up, so we'll just hold these up out of the way for now. And you'll see that as I lean forward, this band, it rotates internally. What I do from here, as I slowly drop down nice and easy, I put my hands up and out. And As I lean forward, thighs are rotating internally, and I have a separation from the two hip bones, from the sacrum, broadening, opening up. I can keep my hands on the floor and control the way the pose presents itself to me. Breathe in and get plenty of extension into the neck. While you're here, you can, if you'd like, go in for another twist. This time the twist, the Mighty Body Band is static. Earlier when we did this, it was dynamic. So static allows me to work so much more deeper, more comprehensively into the pose. Hands to the hips, and slowly come on up. I'm going to come on back. And we were talking about Ustrasana a little while ago. So here, as I come into Ustrasana now, I get that same sensation, that internal rotation of the thighs. So my hands to my hips, I'm up on my toes. The more I lean forward, the more my thighs rotate internally. I can take my arms up, and then slowly I can just drop back. Or I can take my hands to my hips behind and lean back and push slightly forward without pinching into the sacrum. Come on up. Beautiful. Hips come down. Back up a little bit. Hands back and relax. Such a beautiful pose. Become the landscape explorer. Next pose is going to be the Great Pyramid. So I'm going to do the Great Pyramid pose dynamically with the static strip disengaged. I want to have my band set about halfway to the yellow line, the toe band, and it is. So again, I'm going to come forward. Here's the crease of my hips. The band is slightly beneath it. And I'm in position. I think on this side I'll do the right side first. So I grab the loop from behind, reposition my legs, and so now I may pull the band up a little bit so when I fold it's not in the center of the crease of the hips. Put your hands on the edges of your hip bone. Open up your heart. Let the light and the love flow in nice and easy. And then when we're ready, if you should be able to drop slightly down as if you were going to do a really intense Virabhadrasana 1. However, what we'll do is we'll flow down on the exhalation all the way. And as I come down, I feel the band starting to pull as I lean forward. So in this pose here, I can keep my hands to my hips. I can take my hands back and interlace them to keep the front of the chest open. I inhale, I prevent my sternum from collapsing. Rather than letting it come down, lengthen the back. It's about extensioning of the back. Working the erector spinae muscles, breathing, pulling shoulder blades back. Keep the toes soft. If you feel I can go a little further, exhaling a little bit more. If you'd like to take the hands out and work with the core a little bit more, you can do that. You start to feel it. And then what happens here is you'll notice that I can actually start to bend the legs. So I exhale a couple of times. Bend, walk my foot more forward, and easily drop down one more time. Breathing into the pose. Harness the energy. Hands float back nice and easy to the hip extender. Slowly come on up. Come up on the toes and back. Just like that. And then slide back. Take a moment, feel your work, and we'll do the other side. Hands to the hips, walk slightly forward, and the same thing. Left leg slightly forward, reposition your loop of the Mighty Body Band. I know I can take my back leg a little bit more forward, so I go ahead and do it. The band pulls both hips back. I take a nice deep inhalation, as if there were a silver dollar right at your sternum and chest, and lifting, broadening, opening up, breathing across the front of the clavicles. Take a nice deep inhalation, and then exhale and let the sternum and chin lead all the way down. Exhaling into the pose. Hands can come to the hips as they were before. You could even rest them on the low back. Keep your sternum from collapsing. Breathe into the pose. More about the extensioning. Beautiful. Again, if I want to work the core a little bit more, hands out, really working actively. My PNF loop is really being stretched. I can do a couple of variations. Really helps to strengthen that back leg. So the beautiful thing about working with a Mighty Body Band is there's all these beautiful alternative ways of working into a pose, right back into Virabhadrasana 1. It's so much easier to let the front of the hip bones rise up like helium. Shoulder blades broadening. Take a nice deep inhalation. And then slowly breathing. Hands come together. 1, 2. And slowly. Head comes up and nice and easy. Coming down. Leaning slightly forward. Up on the toes. And back we go. Into Tadasana. Very nice. I think what we'll do now is we'll work a little bit with the upper body. So this is a great pose. This is, people sometimes say when they do these push-up poses, it's the first time that they've done a push-up in years. And the reason why, you will soon see. So for this particular pose, I'm going to lengthen my Mighty Body Band a quarter of the way to the green line for some of the units. And then I put my hands across the base, the front of the hips. I take my right leg back and then slowly like this. Now, in this push-up here, you'll notice I'm walking back towards the door or anchor point. Now, because I'm supported by the Mighty Body Band, and as you can see, the PNF loop where the bungee cord is, it's, as I come down, it's under more and more tension. But it's like hard for me to come any further down from this point. But I want to be able to bring my tip of my nose down to the floor. So I know I need to move back a little bit more. Yet the band is still at the hips. It's not moving. And then the eyes of the elbows looking at each other. Notice how my body is nice and straight. I take a nice deep inhalation. And then I exhale. Watch how the elbows come in close to the body. And my hips aren't puckered up, but rather like this, sternum leads. And then as I inhale, the band helps to pull me up. So as I exhale, I'm stretching it. It wants to pull me back up, but the weight of my body is stronger. And I inhale, it helps. Exhale. So we've got really nice form. You really have this sense of accomplishment, yet you feel the upper body work in the biceps, the triceps. Sometimes we do some really nice work where we come up and down like that. And then slowly, when we're ready, I walk myself forward into the PNF of the Mighty Body Band and relax the head. Now the next pose to follow is really nice. It's a crane pose. You saw it earlier into the practice. So I'm going to come forward on all fours, take my hands slightly back. Here, as I'm into my down dog, I lower my hips, and what I do is come slightly forward so I know I've got just the right fulcrum right about here. The band is holding me into place. My feet are on the floor. I should be able to just find maybe a little bit further back. I come back right about there. And then come into the pose. If I want more straight arms, then I come far back, trusting that the band is going to hold me into position like this. And then I learn to come right into it. I can slowly come down, lean slightly back, called Malasana. It's a beautiful pose.